What's up, guys? I have a story. I have a story and I want to share it with you guys. I don't even know where to start with this. It's kind of a long one. I guess I should start with the title. I met somebody. And it's a story worth sharing. So I actually hesitated to talk about this, but I find that this channel is very cathartic for me to talk about these experiences and even just like hear feedback from you guys. So here goes. I met somebody and I haven't felt this kind of connection in years and years, like not since I left New York City for sure, which was back in 2017. So just for some context, a few weeks ago, I had kind of like a lazy Saturday. I didn't do much. So at night, I was like, I should go do something, like just for the hell of, it's a Saturday night, just for the sake of being in a social environment, I'm gonna go out to a bar and get a drink. But I went at like 9:30, which is strangely early for me to go out. But it was because I was so tired. I had a long run that day, I worked out, I hadn't slept well the night before, so I went pretty early at 9:30 and I thought if it's deserted, if there's nobody there, I'll get one drink and I'll go home. And I'm glad I went because as soon as I got a drink, within like 20 seconds, I locked eyes with this guy. We gravitated towards each other. And like 5 or 6 hours later, we're still hanging out. We spent that whole time, hours and hours at this bar, got a few rounds of drinks, and it was just so easy and so instant. The connection, the chemistry was insane. He was very warm. We had all these random things in common, one of them being that he's also part French. So we would speak French and then like go back to English, and that's a really cool, unique bond to have with somebody because I realized after the fact, the next day, I was like, I only do this with my family where we can switch in and out of languages. Like, I don't have friends that I can do that with. So there was this clear connection, clear compatibility. And it's also, I think deep down, even though I was intoxicated and he was intoxicated, in those moments, you can tell that deep down you both want that kind of connection, right? Like you both want more than a friendship, more than just a hookup. You feel it just in the mannerisms and the fact that you've been talking for hours, right? So anyway, the night ended with him dropping me off at home. Of course, we made out, and then he tried to make other things happen, and I was like, no, I like you, I want to get to know you, which I think he secretly liked that because then it's like a challenge. It's funny how some guys that like totally freaks them out, and then other guys, they like it because they feel like they have to work towards something. So it was this beautiful night, and I love those moments where you just could never expect it. Just this spontaneous connection with somebody like-minded. And I just, I went to bed feeling good. Like I met somebody interesting, and I'm looking forward to getting to know them. And it was very mutual, by the way. It wasn't just me thinking this. He kept saying things the whole night, like, I want to cook for you. I want to go do this one thing with you, like show you this part of Miami. And then when he was driving home, he called me. And he said, listen, like, as I'm driving home, I'm feeling weird because I feel like I should have been more transparent, but I'm a workaholic right now. So like head in, the weeds with my work. I'm overwhelmed with it. I have family drama. Like I don't think I can commit to anything emotional right now. Maybe we should just start off as friends and go from there. So this was kind of odd to me because we had this long night together that was clearly, there was a romantic vibe, but I appreciated his honesty and I thought, you know what, I could still use a friend. And sometimes guys say that, but that there's something deeper there. So in my mind, I wasn't sweating it. I was like, I'm fine to get to know him better. I have a feeling it would be hard to just stay friends at this point, but whatever. And then the next morning I wake up to a text message. And the text message said something like, hey, I feel very guilty and uncomfortable about something. We should talk soon, but this has been a really tough year for me. I just don't think I can handle anything emotional, blah, blah, blah. And my instant reaction was just to feel uneasy and anxious. I think because in my mind, one of the toughest things for me with people is being disappointed and confused by their intentions. So in my mind, I'm like, who is this and who is the guy who was there last night at the bar who I talked to for like 5 hours or so? I hate uncertainty. I hate being confused by what people are really doing, what their real intentions are. So it threw me off. And in that moment, I was so convinced that he was going to ghost, he was going to disappear. And that gave me anxiety, I think because I've had that happen before. So I was like, these are the signs again of somebody leading me on and then not really knowing what they want. So I called him. He didn't answer. Then he called me back 20 minutes later or so. And we talked about it. And he basically said, I was really drunk last night. I know I said a lot of things that would imply this could move forward in a dating direction, but I don't think I can handle that right now. I want to see you again, but I don't know when that will be because I'm so overwhelmed with work, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I felt better after the talk because I thought that's pretty cool that he would call me to be that vulnerable and to share that, because a lot of guys wouldn't. A lot of guys would just disappear, wouldn't know how to articulate what they feel. So I thought that was very mature of him. Of course, I was still disappointed that it was just like such a different tone than the night before. But then the rest of my Sunday continued, and I thought, you know what? I can't be making the same mistakes that I've been making throughout my 20s. I'm turning 30 this year, and it's something I think about a lot, that as I'm entering this new decade, this new chapter of my life, I want to learn from my mistakes, and I don't want to cyclically be back in the same places that don't make me happy. So even though there was such an instant, clear connection, and in the past, I think I would have like fought for that, like I would have wanted to prove myself to somebody like him, I had this epiphany that the grass is always greener. Like, you can't force something to be what it is in your head or what you thought it would be. He was very clear, very transparent, and I can't argue with his truth. So it's interesting. I went from being anxious and uncomfortable about it to being like, you know what? It's all good. By the way, that night he called me to check up on me to see how my day was the day after we met. And I thought that was sweet. And that kind of confirmed for me, okay, he does actually want to like maintain a connection with me. It's just that I think he wants it to be like on his terms. He's afraid of it being too committal. So time passes, a whole week passes. I don't reach out to him. I don't hear from him. And in my mind, I was a little like bitter at that point. I was like, I don't want to be proactive with him based on like these red flags and the confusion, what I perceived as mixed signals. If he comes to me, I will engage and go from there, but I won't reach out, right? So then the next weekend comes and I had yet another like unproductive Saturday. And I thought, should I text him just to say hello, just to reach out? Like, do I have anything to lose by sending a text message, you know? So I did it. Even though I had told myself I wouldn't be proactive, I just went for it because I thought back to how he had called me and how thoughtful I thought that was the second time that he called. And he responded immediately. And then he FaceTimed me immediately. And we talked for about 10 minutes. And he was like, what are you doing right now? And I was like, I'm not doing anything. He was like, do you want to hang out? I was like, sure. So he came over and I thought maybe we'll go for a walk or maybe we'll just like have a drink at my place. And yet again, this connection was just instant. And the chemistry. And we started making out, and then one thing led to another. And then I just felt uneasy all over again because I felt like I had indulged him in something I didn't want, which was a confusing place where there's a chemistry, but there's also an intimacy involved. So me being who I am, as you guys can probably tell from this channel, I was verbose about it and I wanted to talk about it. And we kind of talked about it, but I could tell he like doesn't like to talk about these things and feelings and all that. And I'm so about communication that it just made it awkward. And he ended up leaving after we spent a few hours together. And I felt so uncomfortable and I regretted seeing him because it put me in this vulnerable headspace of confusion. And I hate confusion, I hate uncertainty. So then the rest of the night, I just was like in my head about it. And I was like, what did I do? Like I shouldn't have hung out or we should have like gone to do something. But I realized that my discomfort with this situation and with this guy was because there were mixed signals. Like it's not my delusion. When you have a hookup situation, it's very clear when it's just purely physical. But with this guy, when he came over, we spent more time just kind of like snuggling and cuddling and talking about random things than anything sexual. So for me, that's a very confusing place to be because it feels very intimate, but it's like there's a limit to it. And I think for me, feeling not in control of that narrative was also a source of discomfort. So what I learned from this whole situation is, first off, I had a moment of weakness and I allowed something to evolve or to happen again based on my, I think, internally, this desire to be validated by him, like that he's still interested in me. But the thing is, I know what's gonna happen with this guy, which is that anytime we hang out, there's going to be this chemistry, and it's going to be this horrible cycle of me seeking that validation and getting a dose of intimacy that I haven't received in so long. But there's always gonna be a limit to it. Like, I will never be able to fully access what I want with this person. Maybe one day that will change, but it won't be on my terms. It'll be if he decides. And it's interesting how for me, when the physical stuff is intertwined with the emotional stuff, it's very easy for me to get turned off. Like, I ended the night last night, and even today I'm like, I don't want to think about men. Like, I don't know if I even want to see him ever again, which is a very dramatic turn of events. Ironically, kind of like how he was that first weekend. And maybe it's the same reason, actually, which is that once you intertwine the two, it gets very dicey and it's too easy to get hurt. Like, there's a part of me that's so intrigued by this guy because he has allowed this vulnerability in me to open up that I haven't experienced in so long. So there's something beautiful about that, but it's also really frightening that I met somebody who I can tell can very easily fuck with my head if he chooses to. So this time, I can't be proactive again. I can't pursue this thing. If he reaches out again, who knows? I guess I'll keep you guys updated. But as I said, I'm entering my 30s this year, and I can't allow myself to not live according to the things that I actually want. And getting 50% of something is just not worth it for me. Like, I'd rather be on my own, not thinking about dating or connecting with somebody, than be like kind of there just to get a taste. It's just funny how I was telling my friend yesterday, it's like we all fantasize about things, right? Like, the grass is always greener, but then once you get to that other grass, I feel like it's often not what you thought it would be. You know, like everybody, like I always think a friend with benefits could be fun, easy, you know, no strings attached. And then here's my opportunity, but it's not on my terms, not with the kind of person I would want to be friends with benefits with. This person is different. This person, it's like I would want to explore more of a connection. So it's just funny how we wish for things or we hope for things, and then you get it and you're like, oh, but this isn't how I wanted it. Like, so it's funny and both screwed up too and twisted. But curious what you guys think about this.